Welcome back, fight fans. This is Rizzo Striker with Knuckle Up News. A great night of boxing. Showtime put on a great fight card with Charlo versus John Jackson, Julian Jackson's son, as well as the other Charlo brother, Jamal Charlo versus Austin Trout, former super welterweight champion, and heading the card, Lara versus Vanes Martirosyan. This was fantastic. Let's start off with the main event. Lara defeats Vanes Martirosyan in a 12-round unanimous decision. It was a competitive fight, but it was pretty clear that Lara was landing the more effective punches more often. Though, of course, in Lara's style, that he'd pick up the pace at some points and slow it down at others. And I won't say put on a clinic. These styles make fights, and these two guys tend to bring the best out of each other. And it was a pretty clear-cut, unanimous decision. There was some low blows and some points deducted, taken from Vanes Martirosyan, which made the fight look like it was less close. But overall, it was a decent fight, and Lara retains his WBA title. And in the co-main event, Jamal Charlo versus Austin Trout. Jamal Charlo defeats Austin Trout in a 12-round unanimous decision as well. This was the best fight of the night. It was very competitive. It could have went either way. I thought this was a 50-50 fight to start. I was somewhat pulling for Austin Trout. I kind of want to see him get a good break, but at the same time, I do love Jamal Charlo's style, and I think there's big things to come down the pipe for him. And solidifying that with this victory really helps him. Austin Trout was the slicker fighter in the fight, but he definitely looked outsized. And Jamal Charlo was just throwing bombs. His right hand, his straight right hand is really what won him the fight. He had some decent hooks, and his jab was also, he kept it in Austin Trout's face for most of the night. Early in the fight, Charlo seemed to have more of the rounds. But later in the fight, Austin Trout did make the fight a lot closer. Some of the scorecards were a little bit lopsided, but for the most part, they got it right. It was a Charlo win. It just could have went either way. And if Austin Trout was the champion, I would have said that Charlo didn't do enough to take the belt from Austin Trout. But since Trout was the challenger, I traditionally always go with whoever's the champion, the challenger's got to go in there and take the belt. And Trout just didn't do that. He did, at sometimes it looked like he was surviving, and then he'd come back with some nice combinations. I thought Trout threw the better combinations in the fight, and he was slicker, but Charlo was just catching him with that right, and it looked like it was doing a lot more damage than Trout was to Charlo. So that was the fight of the night. To me, it was a great fight. And 12-round unanimous decision for Jamal Charlo. Now, Charlo's other brother was also on this fight, and big ups again to Showtime and Al Heyman for putting on this combination of fights, having both of these brothers on the fight, because it just kind of a 2-for-1 kind of package. I think it's just good marketing, and they're both great fighters, and they both made history and took a championship. One of them defended the championship, and the other brother, Jamal Charlo versus John Jackson, he stopped him in the 8th round of a fight. He was actually down on all scorecards, as well as all viewers were basically saying, hey, look, Jamal Charlo was just he wasn't getting to John Jackson enough. John Jackson was looking real slick in there, and instead of coming out and attacking aggressively like he normally does, he actually switched up the game plan, and it looked like Jamal Charlo wasn't ready for it. And so, but again, kind of like the Canelo Khan fight, you can't give too much credit to a guy who got knocked out. Things change and people make adjustments, and it's part of the game. You can't think of it as, oh, well, if he didn't get hit by that punch, he could have took it in 12. No, this is a fight. This is a boxing match, and only in recent history, I shouldn't say recent history, but boxing has become a no more than 12-round fight. It used to be 15 rounds, and in 15 rounds, there's a lot less fights going the distance. And even before that, if you remember, these fights would go until one man could no longer continue in the more brutal days of boxing. So you got to continue to look at it like, look, no matter if this guy was down 7 rounds to zip, he knocked the guy out and took the fight. he applied the pressure. It looked like at the end of the 7th round, his corner gave him some great advice, told him to pick it up and apply the pressure. Sure enough, he came off that 8th round early, and he immediately was applying pressure and throwing bombs, and he wound up hurting Jackson. He hit him in the eye, and I think dude felt like his eye popped out of the socket like, one of them slinkies or something, because he completely forgot all his boxing training for the past 20 plus years, however old he is, and he turned sideways, stood straight up, and stopped fighting. And that's when Charlo jumped right on him and threw a few more bombs, and that was it. He basically KO'd him, and the ref stopped it. So a fantastic night of fights. Again, Jermell Charlo defeats John Jackson by 8th round knockout, and he gains the championship belt. So not only Jermell Charlo, but Jamal Charlo, his brother, both hold world championship titles at the junior middleweight, super welterweight weight division. They made history. It was fantastic to witness. And Erislandy Lara defends his title in the rematch against Vanis Martirosyan. If you remember, their first fight was had to go to scorecards because of a headbutt, and it was a draw. This time around, it was a clear-cut unanimous decision for Erislandy Lara. So there you have it. This is Rizzo Striker with Knuckle Up News. Subscribe.